SportsCenter. The 49ers wasting no time in their offseason, getting their superstar tight end on the books for the foreseeable future. San Francisco locking up six-time Pro Bowler George Kittle in a deal. It is a 4-year extension worth over $76 million, including $40 million of that guaranteed. Kittle has played his entire career in San Francisco after being drafted in the 5th round in 2017. As promised, Peter Schrager here to break all things down. We had a bunch of different questions scripted for you, and then we get the breaking news 10 minutes ago. That's show business, baby. So, Peter, what is your reaction to this extension?
Well, it keeps George Kittle as a 49er, as he should be. Back in 2020, 5 years ago, they had a long, arduous contract negotiation that ended up with having Kittle being the highest paid tight end in the league. That was in 2020. I remember it because I remember speaking with George the day after, and I said, how'd you celebrate? He said, well, we had some Panda Express and wine in my apartment last night. I said, that's George Kittle for you. Yeah. 5 years later, this was going down that road again, where it was getting in the public a little bit that Kittle wasn't thrilled with his deal. It was up. Well, they take care of him. And now the question is, if you're keeping this thing going and the consistency, what do we do with Fred Warner? What do we do with Brock Purdy? The Niners, they're not saying their window is closed just yet. They're keeping it open, and it's a lot of the guys that were there for that whole run that took them to 2 Super Bowl appearances and all those NFC Championship games.
Because Debo is now in D.C., and you're looking at Kittle, 31 years old, still led the 49ers in receiving yards and touchdowns and catches. All right, let's run the 2-minute drill. Here we go. 128 days until opening night. Draft is over. Free agency, they're done barring any unexpected chaos. So what storylines, Schrags, should we be watching for right now?
All right, here are just 4 stories that I would keep an eye on over the next several months. First is Aaron Rodgers' watch, and I can call it Aaron Rodgers' watch 2025. We got that Jets logo there. He's currently on the market. Who wants him? Well, the Steelers seem to be the team, yet is he actually going to play? Because you saw him on McAfee. He said, I've got some personal things to deal with.
Yep.
I'll tell you this. He told the Giants and the Steelers straight up, I have no timetable. If you want to move on, you can move on. The Giants, they opted to pivot. They went with Russell Wilson and of course, Jameis Winston, and now a rookie. Steelers, Will Howard's the only new quarterback they added. He's a 6th-round pick. 2, we got the schedule release, May 14th. It's a couple Wednesdays from now. And I want to see who the Eagles open up with. This, to me, is an interesting one. The NFL usually will pit the teams that they think are going to be relevant at the end of the season. The Eagles schedule some of the teams that they could play at home. Well, the Rams, the Lions, the Bears, and how about the Raiders? Some interesting teams that they could possibly do. And, of course, the entire NFC East is a possibility. Who deserves that prime billing of that Thursday night game? My third one's an interesting one. James Cook. You're like, James Cook? Yeah, we know. Josh Allen's the MVP. A lot of running backs got paid this offseason, including Saquon getting a renegotiated deal that will make him the highest paid running back in the league. James Cook was unbelievable last year. He's entering the final year of his contract. His agent and him have publicly said they want more than $15 million. The Bills have scoffed at that number. James Cook is an amazing player. Awesome, and was huge in that AFC Championship game. They need him. Let's see what they can do. The last one is this. I go Shador, but it's really the Browns quarterback room. Like, I don't know if they can do Hard Knocks because of all the rules, but I would love to just have a camera on all of these names. Now, look, Deshaun Watson, he's going to be paid $46 million to not play. Must be nice. Then you got Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, who was drafted before Shador in the 3rd round, and then Shador Sanders. I'm curious, how does it work out in minicamp? How does it work out in training camp? And then when we get to week 1 with the Cleveland Browns, who is under center?
And that's your 2 minutes. Peter Schrager, a professional, breaking things down this morning.
Because his number 1 go-to guy is under contract.
Well, it feels like they have to be closer to setting the parameters on a Brock Purdy deal. Why else would you commit resources and cap space to George Kittle in this time during the offseason? Like, I get it that his extension might lower the current cap hit in 2025, but you got to think about these extensions in multi-year terms, right? Like, you've got to make sure that your salary cap is in good shape, not just for this year, but for the foreseeable future. So slotting in the George Kittle contract before you get the Brock Purdy deal done seems counterintuitive, but them getting this Kittle deal done and allowing Kittle to reset the market at the tight end position for new money average makes me feel like they're on the verge of being able to get something done with Brock Purdy.
I wonder what the number will be, though, for Brock. Because if I'm him and I've gone to a Super Bowl, I'm certainly going to ask for the moon. I know that they have cleared the decks for me. I know that their intentions are to sign me. So I would ask for a big number. And what's the worst they say? No. But knowing now that George Kittle is done, I'm sure all attention swings to Brock Purdy. And I'm wondering if it's going to happen sooner rather than later. If they just want to get it done and proceed forward.
I would venture to think later rather than sooner. But this obviously is telling. I guess what's the deadline for both parties? And let me describe what I mean by deadline. For Purdy, it's I'm not showing up anymore.
But he's there.
Right. I'm saying what's the deadline of like he's there and then he starts to not be there or the hold in. And what's the deadline for the Niners of if you're not going to sign this, we're not going to sign you. Like as simple as this is the highest we're going to go. Like what is that game 1 of the season? Is that the start of training camp?
I think it's the starting training camp.
So if July or August, whatever it is, training camp starts and they don't have a deal done.
Yeah, he's not going out there and practicing. You can get hurt.
And then who budges in that spot?
Oh, I would have to think it's the 49ers that budge.
Absolutely.
Can I throw a wrinkle on this?
I mean, essentially they would have no season. Right?
And,
if you don't have Brock Purdy as your starting quarterback.
And coming off 6-11 last year, you would think a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago that does still have these pieces that they're going to try to maximize what window they have, even if it's a small and or closing window. This year is very consequential for this current group.
Yeah, don't be the Miami Heat. Don't torpedo your season before it even
Okay,
starts.
all right, keep it moving.
Don't do that.
Keep it not relevant. We have George Kittle breaking news.
Don't do that.
Why would you do that?
Don't have the best player on the team be upset.
We saw how it worked out for Miami, or it didn't work out, I guess.
Your superstar quarterback, don't do that.
Are we done? I mean, I know they are.
It seems relevant, right?
Yeah.
To compare George Kittle and Brock Purdy to the Heat?
To Jimmy.
Feels like a stretch. Feels like
Does
an
it feel like a
intentional
stretch?
Feels
Does
like
it,
an
though?
intentional stretch.
The most
like you were
important,
reaching.
the most important player on the team wants a new contract. The organization has not given him one. It hasn't become contentious, but it could. Especially the longer this thing drags out.
As you're reasoning this out, it does make sense to make the comp.
Yes, it does. The comp tracks.
I'm just saying.
So can I throw a curveball in all of this? And I'm going to continue to throw this curveball. And you've thrown this curveball, CC. Like, there has to be a point where if the Niners are like, this is ridiculous, from their perspective, and I'm not saying that they're saying this because I truly believe they want Brock Purdy on their team for the next 5 to 10 years. But if they say, this is just getting ridiculous, we're not on the same page, and there's a certain Hall of Famer who's from the Bay Area who Kyle Shanahan loved in the past, just sitting there, and there's a team that thinks they're going to get that guy without a quarterback, I'm just not going to stop playing out the Niners-Steelers hypothetical trade.
With the swap, Brock to Pittsburgh, Rodgers, well, not a trade because he's not, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
they trade dance partners.
Yes.